Charles Thomas gave you the straight news. Now he's giving you real talk on the governor's race.
These Democrats are into name calling. They'll call people a racist, a misogynist, a homophobic person, or whatever, because they want to distract from the fact that they've accomplished so little in public office. And it's time people woke up and recognized J.B. Pritzker. What's he ever done outside of being born on third base and telling the world he hit a triple? J.B. Pritzker and his people called Darren Bailey an extremist. Darren Bailey? I met the man. He's a family farmer. Somebody who understands what it's like to go to work every day. Somebody who's fair-minded. I can trust this guy. Yeah, a farmer from Southern Illinois. Yeah, farmer from Southern Illinois.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.
Hey, welcome to this Monday night's edition of The People Show with Mark Wallace and Charles Thomas right here on IntellectualRadio.com. We are streaming live at Facebook.com, and we are also streaming live on YouTube at IntellectualRadio.com. Our call-in number is 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953. We will be picking up your calls in just a few minutes.
Hey, man, it's interesting how we had to break out the sweaters and the hats. All of a sudden,
October 17th.
Winter is right around the corner.
Yeah, they recorded their first flakes of snow at O'Hare International Airport today.
Really?
They said this was the first time that they've gotten snow this early since 2014. And they also said you can go back 135 years to find when we got the first time that we had snow this early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people around the world are talking about this perhaps being one of the most brutal winters on record. I mean, there's a problem in Europe, of course, with energy. Be it natural gas or oil or whatever, heat homes. In fact, in Germany, they're having to protect the forests because so many people are going out to chop firewood because they're afraid they might not have the money to pay for natural gas this winter.
It is a tribute to this thing called climate change. That is a real issue that is impacting all over the globe.
Yeah, I'm certainly no climate denier, but it seems as though 30 years ago they were talking about global warming or acid rain. It seems like they come up with a different environmental issue every 10, 15 years or so, and climate change, of course, is the hue and cry today. And I don't know. I'm sort of we have a couple of 100 years, maybe 100 years of science, really, to make the determination. But I think we all have to be concerned about the environment.
I think we have to be concerned about the environment, and I think that we have to look at just the things that are happening. And, scientists all over the world are giving us pretty much the same findings that these things are happening, and we can look at it like we look at some of the storms or the inflection of storms that are happening down in the South at a rapid rate that we have not seen before.
I've heard some people say just the opposite, but why suddenly in 2020, or do we know so much in 2020? What are we going to know or 2022? What are we going to know in 21, 22 about the world? I mean, science is an evolving thing, and I guess we didn't have the knowledge 100 years ago to make a determination about.
It's an evolving knowledge of what is happening to the planet.
Yeah.
So this is not something where, they just cooked it up in one in one
Well,
setting.
just one setting.
This is an evolving.
Yeah, but it always
yeah.
intrigues me what we will know 100 years from now, should we, God willing, still be here. What will we know then? What did we think we knew 100 years ago that we didn't know? I mean, it's like we don't know what we don't know.
We don't know what we don't know, and we know what we know. But the question is, when we know, then when you know better, the old saying is, you should be doing better.
Yeah.
And I think that we have more information today about
Exactly.
our
But what will
climate
we know
than
100 years from now?
I don't know.
You know, I don't.
I won't be around here, so I won't know what it is that we will know 100 years from today. I just know that we know more today, that we're doing less about it. I mean, look at the forest fires that are raging.
But I don't know that we can really say that that's a result of climate change, or is
I think that people are
someone
much
dropped
smarter
a
than
match
us
in the
can.
forest and
and
the fire started, or do we know that
But
we
not
didn't
all
have
fires-
fires 200 years ago because
No.
we didn't have a way to track them?
we didn't have fires at this rate 50 years ago.
But we
not 200
but we
years
don't,
ago.
But I mean, to say that we live in this special age where we know everything, and I remember there was a group called the Last Poets that was popular back in the 60s and 70s, and they had a poem that was called "The White Man's Got a God Complex," because they were talking about European science and how European science basically tries to pretend as though this is the age of ages, when in fact there have been other ages in history where the dominant culture could have said the same thing and made the same claims. And again, what are we going to claim 100 years from now, 200 years from now? And do we get worked up over climate change when in fact it's just what we think now?
Or do we do nothing?
I think we have to do some things, but I think that when we begin to predicate everything on that, and we call it existential, as though the world is going to end unless we, eliminate fossil fuels. And we're finding out now that we don't have enough energy without fossil fuels. So all of that rhetoric about climate change, suddenly in Europe, they need natural gas. They need fossil fuels, and they got to have them, or people are going to die this winter, because so much has been said about climate change to eliminate the use of fossil fuels, when we basically were not ready to do that.
I don't know that there is conversation that I'm hearing about completely eliminating, but certainly having less dependency.
Joe Biden said he wanted to
it.
get rid of fossil fuels, period.
I don't know where that comment.
Well, no, he said that. He said that during the campaign.
There certainly is, and there's reason for it. Be certainly that we should be less dependent upon fossil fuels, because during the pandemic, we learned a great lesson during the pandemic, especially in other places and other parts of the world, where when they had to, we all had to shut down, and until this thing could get under control, they were finding in other places of the world where they showed on these juxtaposed positions of places before the pandemic and during the pandemic, how clean the air was, because there were less burning of
I've heard that too.
Smog and the fossil fuels.
In fact, people were getting less sick with respiratory diseases during the pandemic than they were.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there is people can politicize it all they want to. I think that it is incumbent upon us to want to take care of the planet as best that we can, and not ignore signs because of some political, philosophical view.
I think that part of what drives the whole climate change argument is politics as well. It's politics on both sides.
Most scientists, are not coming up with their findings because of politics.
scientists, again, what do they know? I mean, what they know now is not what they're going to know 100 years from
Well,
now.
what we know now is because of the ability that has been given to a lot of scientists 50 years ago, 100 years ago, scientists that you and I don't even know that existed, that we have information, that we're able to do things that we're able to do and use technology and get people on the moon and in space and do things like they're doing now because of people who have those gifts and those abilities.
Let's talk about something else.
All right, first of all, let's do this. I want to do this, okay, before we get there, because, you wanted to go on that tangent.
Well, we're talking about the weather,
Yeah.
and this wool stuff that I had to break out,
Guess what?
And you got a jacket on, man,
and we're gonna have the t-shirts back on come Friday because it's gonna be in the 70s.
Well, that's Chicago.
How about that? So, but I want to say this on a serious note. A very dear sister and good friend of mine, and many people out there in Chicago know her by the name of Emma Young, who lost her son to a tragic hit and run car tragedy right in front of her home in the late hours of Thursday night. Her son went to watch the football game with some friends of his, came back home, walked across the street, and a car mowed him down. And she actually was the one who called 911, not knowing that it was her son. But my condolences, and on behalf of the citizens to abolish red light cameras and 10 by 10 to win, which she has been the writer for us on many press releases and behind the scenes, and she's done articles for us. Our hearts go out to you, and we certainly are keeping you and your family in our prayers during this time of bereavement.
What drives these people who are the drivers in the hit and run vehicles to leave the scene? That has always intrigued me. What would make you leave the scene of an accident in which someone is injured? The first inclination I would have would be to go give aid, but these people are driving away.
Well, what we have found here in the city of Chicago is that over the last 18 years, we have decided that traffic patrol is not something that we are going to have employed by our police officers. So we don't have visibility of police on the streets. We see visibility of police on the streets when somebody is shot or there's some, bullets flying or whatever. Just earlier today, I was at home and I heard a flurry of bullets. I called 911. It must have been 30 rounds that went off. I called 911. Within 3 minutes, that area was saturated with police. Within 3 minutes.
That's pretty good.
That is
because most people will say that they don't come for incidents even like that.
Yeah.
That it'll take them a half an hour, 20 minutes to get there. And
But to answer your question, we know in past, when police officers were doing traffic stops, they were able to prevent even other crimes because a lot of the people that were being stopped were people who, unfortunately, were engaging or about to engage in other activity that was very dangerous. They were able to recover guns and prevent crimes. And
you mean you mean police would stop people preemptively if they suspected that they were up to no good?
No, they would stop them for traffic violations. But, somebody who's driving down the street that may have run a traffic stop or run through a stop sign, or you made an illegal turn, or maybe they had some lights out on their vehicle or something like that. And a lot of those instances, they have found people who had been engaged in other activities, but they don't do that much anymore.
They don't do. One of the reasons they don't do it is that they don't have enough police officers to do it. And usually when you see a cop today on the streets of Chicago, anywhere in the city, that police officer is headed to or from a call. And the switchboard or whatever, the dispatchers will attest that they have calls backed up and they can't always stop in the middle of a call to do a traffic stop because they're on their way to some other incident, be it felony or domestic, whatever, but they're in the middle. They're working all day now because their numbers are down so significantly, not only in Chicago, but around the country.
Yeah, well, they've here in Chicago, they've eliminated traffic patrol officers.
I would see why,
We
because
used to, well,
they
but
don't
you
have
used to-
time to do it.
Well, but those were separate doing. You just did traffic patrol. There was a time that
I know, but they don't have enough officers to just do traffic patrol because they're all answering calls all the time because they don't have enough officers around to actually do traffic because they're on their way to a call when they see a car run a light or they see a car speeding. They can't stop because they're on their way to an address to answer a call.
I've seen people who have done illegal traffic stops, and a police officer is just in their car traveling along with us at the same stoplight, at the same traffic light, and they've just let people go. I see police officers, they have police officers that are just stationed at a position because there were some past problems there on 75th Street. They have a police officer that is stationed at a certain location all night. On 63rd and King Drive, there's
I've
a
seen
police
that.
officer that
I've
is
seen that.
stationed there 24 hours
And they
around
were
the clock.
told to stay there.
That's
they were
what
told to
they're
stay
positioned
there
there.
because, like on Michigan Avenue downtown, they will position officers in their cars with the blue light flashing,
Right.
because they want to create a presence and they don't want that officer to move off that position
Mhm.
because that's how they're policing Michigan Avenue these days.
Well, listen, the point is that a visible police officer is a deterrent.
Absolutely.
So, and I concur and agree with that 1,000%.
And they
But
do
when I
that on
see
Michigan
police
Avenue, but not in the neighborhoods.
Not that much in our neighborhoods. We have maybe one or two, like the ones that I just told you about. There was an unfortunate shooting in Washington Park over the summer. They had police officers stationed in their cars in the park where that shooting happened for about a week, 24 hours around the clock. But these locations that I just mentioned on the South Side, they've been there for weeks. If you go there right now, you'll see that police officer sitting there probably playing Candy Crush or whatever that Apple Crash or whatever that is on their phone.
But, going back to the original point, it's the people who will hit somebody in their car
Mm-hmm.
and they won't even get out to attend to the victim, the person who was injured, and they'll just ride off.
I don't know the psychology of that, but if I
can't.
had to take a guess, it's probably somebody, first of all, that was driving at a high rate of speed that shouldn't have been driving at that rate of speed in the first place, because to do the damage that was done here, that was driving at a high rate of speed, and you hit somebody. I don't know, if it's panic. I don't know what that is that would cause someone to hit another human being and not immediately want to provide some assistance or aid. It's a very, very
sad commentary.
Very sad
on who
commentary.
we are becoming. As a city, that we have people like that who are driving around every day who really don't care.
It is a growing problem, but it is a growing problem all over the place. It is a growing problem all over the place where they have these red light cameras and speed cameras, and they've decided to defer traffic patrol to devices that have been found, study after study, that they don't do that. The city of New York has 2,000 speed cameras that they operate now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I think I saw a story last week where they generated like $94 million.
That's New York City.
New York City.
Wow.
And they have these around school zones, but they are now operating 24 hours a day, 7 days
And
a
that's
week.
to generate revenue as
Well,
opposed to safety.
it was supposed to be about safety. If you speak to every politician who supports those devices, they will tell you it is about safety. And every study, every analysis shows that it does not produce safety. One thing that it produces is a lot of private wealth.
Talk about public safety. We've been talking about the police department. How about the fire department, man? They're trying to. There's going to be another test for all. You were telling me about it before we went on the air here.
There was a lawsuit that was forged back, I believe, in 1996 or something like that. Ezra McCann, who was a retired firefighter, was very involved with that because of the inequities and discrimination on the fire department. And about 9,500 or something like that, people got checks for $9,400, or 11,000 got checks for $9,400, and a few 111 people got hired from that lawsuit. There is now a new test getting ready to come, and there were 3,500 Black people who took the test the last time that the exam was given. They passed the test. They're just waiting for their opportunity to be hired. And they are receiving letters now that their exams will no longer be accepted.
Why are they saying that? What is the rationale from the city or the fire department?
I don't know what that rationale is. I don't know what the rationale is. I have asked that of Ezra, and they don't have the complete answer now. And I think that Annette Holt, who is the commissioner of the Chicago Fire Department, who was just made the commissioner about a year ago. And I think that as a Black woman, that she owes the public an answer to that question, because it would seem to me, if 3,500 people took an exam the last time and they didn't get hired and they're just waiting to be processed, it would seem to me that you would process them before you would give an exam. But now that 3,500, their work is just going to be thrown out.
Do they have to take this new exam?
They have to apply.
They have to apply first?
They have to
so
apply
they can't even
first.
take the exam that's going to be given shortly, right?
Right. And unless
why can't the mayor or the commissioner, I mean, she works for the mayor just step in, or is this tied up with the union?
No, I think that there are excuses on both sides. I think that the mayor will make an excuse that will probably say, well, there are certain things that we can't do contractually. But I think that is probably not true. I think that if there's further investigation done, we'll be able to find out that the mayor does have some leverage of things that they can do. So, but the mayor can hire. She can say enforce. There was a contract, and it's Appendix G of the contract that says that the goal is that you are to hire 30% of African Americans, 15% of Hispanics. And so I'm told that the Hispanics have gotten their fair share, and they're at about 18 to 20%, and Blacks are right around 7%.
We have a caller on the line. Our number is 708-223-8953. We have a caller on the line, and I should hit which button here, Earl? Yeah, the one that said, the phone button. There it is.
There we go.
Very good. Good evening. You're on the People's Show on Intellectual Radio.
Yes. Ezra McCann, retired captain, Chicago Fire Department.
Love it.
Ezra. Right ahead, Ezra. Right on time.
Ezra, can you explain to us why these 3,500 applicants who have passed the test, why aren't they hired immediately or sent to the training academy, or enough of them, in order to fulfill the need that we have for firefighters in Chicago?
Well, from my investigation, it's something that is ongoing with the city. Every time they give a new exam, they send upwards of 3, 4, 5,000 blacks home to take the test over again. We have some folks from the black community have taken the test 3 times. Whoa. Some of them have taken it so many times they have aged out. You can't be no older than 38 to come on the job. So basically, it's the lack of interest of the city of Chicago to hire black folks onto these departments, the police and the fire.
So is this the mayor, the city administration, whether it's Rahm Emanuel or Richard M. Daley or Lori Lightfoot, is it the mayor's office that isn't putting the hammer down, so to speak, and saying, hey, let's get on with this? Or is it the union is stopping it? Or
it's the mayor's office, and back to Daley, okay, and Rahm Emanuel, now Lori Lightfoot. It seems that they all agree with the union that this is not necessary. Back in 1981, when this went into the contract, it was a clause that was put into the contract to help save the city. And Charles, I believe you were working there when the fire department strike was on.
Right.
Yes. It was a clause put in there. We as the black firemen was going to cross the picket line and break the strike because it was our neighborhoods that was being harmed. So in an agreement with the union, they decided to put this clause in since the numbers was down with minorities back then. Well, back then in 1980, in 81, when it went to the contract, Hispanics was 2% of the department, Charles. Right now, they got their 15%, which the contract dictates. They're almost 18 or 20% of the department. They say that we as black firefighters was 7% of the department. And right now, our numbers have went down below the 7%, never went up. So basically, yes, it falls on the office of the mayor and also falls on the union. It's the only piece of the contract that is not being adhered to. It's the 30% for black. They have honored the 15% for the Hispanics. So yes, it's the mayor's office. Like I say, Rahm Emanuel and the union agreed they didn't need it. Daley in the union, and now it seems like Lori Lightfoot and the union are agreeing that they don't need it.
So what's the role of the union here? What's the role of the union here? The union can't, they can put the kibosh on whatever they want to?
Well, basically, it's a signed agreement, Charles. It's a contract, which I sent Mark.
Well, here's the language. Here's the language in the contract, and this is what it says. It says the parties agree that hiring and recruitment programs of the fire department shall, the word shall means that it has to happen, shall have as a goal to achieve in the shortest possible time a total force in which approximately 30% shall be black and 15% Hispanic. Now, there is some language there that gives them a little bit of because it says the goal. It shall be the goal. It doesn't say that it shall happen. That's when I read that language and you look at it and legally was to interpret that to a court would come back and give you an opinion about whether or not that is a mandate.
Now, speaking of the courts, could the city administration sue to enact the the goals?
No, can I jump in on this? Goal is something they've been using against us, okay? Goal, but it's been in the contract since 1981. How long does it take for you to achieve a goal? The Hispanic, I just gave you the numbers on the Hispanics, the Latinos, they have gotten their 15%. Our numbers have not budged. They're going down. So again, it's up to the union to make the city use that part of the contract, which they won't dare do because all these jobs are steadily going to the white communities. It's up to the mayor to look at the contract and deliver it.
How many?
If the union don't like it, they can stop her. But the mayor has not done that.
Well, Ezra, how many?
Go ahead.
Yeah, how many in the hierarchy on the union are black?
None. It's the executive board of 10 members, and they're all white males.
That's been the case for as long as I can remember. They used to have one brother in there, but I don't know. It seemed like he was.
He never. He never was on the executive board. He
Right.
had some position that didn't even deserve a vote. So again, no, he wasn't really on it. But again, things haven't changed.
So
I
maybe
bring up a point all the time, Charles, that there are no poor white communities in the city of Chicago. This is where these jobs go to. These jobs go to the white Catholic communities. And we're still begging and trying to make us part. Right now, 30% of the department should be at least 1,500 black firefighters. Right now, we're down below 300. There's less than probably 300 on the fire department.
That is outrageous.
Yes.
That is outrageous. So
I have written the mayor. I have talked to the aldermen. I can't find no aldermen that want to make this a priority. Matter of fact, they run away from it.
Of course.
As long as I've been involved, Charles, ever since I first met you, okay, as a recorder, I can't get an alderman to really support this.
We have 40% of the city council is black. 30% of the General Assembly is black, but yet we can't seem to, that doesn't transfer to the structure in terms of equity and jobs that would change the transform.
Mark Wallace, you're triggering me.
No, I'm not.
I'm about to tell you about. You know what? I'll go off on a tangent on you.
That's not a trigger.
No, that's your Democratic Party, your Democratic Party establishment in Cook County in Chicago that is perpetuating these kinds of dynamics, if I can
and I believe that we are enabling them to continue to perpetuate those kind of dynamics.
Absolutely. We're absolutely enabling them by not complaining about it, by not getting in front of it.
Well, we won't do the fundamental thing that we need to do to organize to push them out of place and put other people in place, and those people know that we put them there, and those people know that we put them out. That is the real leverage of power that, for whatever the reason is, we refuse, and I'm using the word refuse. We are because we haven't done it. We are refusing to do it. We haven't done it since 1987, the last time that we did it. Why?
If I could chime in, basically, we have to agree. We can all agree that the Democratic Party in the city of Chicago, Democratic Town, has not been very nice to the black community. And we can all agree on that. Okay, but the problem is, that's why 10 by 10 is so important, Mark.
Yes.
Because 70% of our voting block don't vote. But 30% that vote is in love with the Democratic Party. Black, white, whoever, they put whoever the Democratic Party say. And right now, the folks we've been putting in office have not helped our issues, none. As I'm talking to you tonight about the fire department, I retired in 2006, but I refuse to get up off of this because I know what these valuable jobs mean to our community. If we just get the city, who is the largest employer in the city of Chicago, to understand that the black folks in this town need to work. So again, I'm on it, and I will be on it, and I'm glad that you all have picked this subject up tonight because it's so important. The 3,500 blacks that they're getting ready to send home right now, it could be the best 3,500 group of black folks that ever signed up for the fire department, but we won't know because the city won't process them. They send them letters and told them you got to sign up for the new exam. The cutoff is today, the 17th. Okay, you got to sign up for a new exam, okay, and take it over again. And this happens every exam the Chicago Fire Department gives. They send 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 blacks home. Like the lawsuit he was telling you about, Mark was telling you about. The city admitted that 6,000 blacks passed that exam. Well, 111, after Daley fought it for 18 years, 111 blacks got jobs, okay, and 5,889 blacks got $98 checks. That was not a real good victory for the black community because they sent 5,889 blacks home without a job.
Yeah.
So again, we're up against that again right now. They want to give a new exam. And again, it's doing us not well because now they're talking about a lottery. How do you get 30% of blacks in a lottery? There might not be no blacks picked in the lottery, but these are the games that they play when they change the rules.
Well,
why do you suspect that Lori Lightfoot is not dealing with Local 2 the way she should be dealing with Local 2? Do they have is there some political relationship between the mayor's office and this union that
There probably is, but again, it's not up to the union. The union is not blocking it right now. The union is just standing fast and saying, "I'm glad they're not using it."
Exactly, but then maybe
Lloyd,
she's getting a message from them. I mean, the 19th ward, where a lot of them live, man, that is the most heavily voted ward in the city of Chicago, as I recall from my years as a political reporter.
You mean over in Beverly?
In Beverly,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's your most Republican votes come out of Mount Greenwood and the Jefferson Park area also. Okay, I just watched Punch 9, and they told you the history back then when Epton ran against Washington. Okay. So again, they're not on our side. They don't want these jobs to come to our community. It used to be the fathers and the sons and the granddaddies. Now it's fathers, sons, grandfathers, husbands, wives and daughters. Anybody but black folks to work in the city. But right now it's up to Mayor Lori Lightfoot to honor the 30% in the contract. It's just that easy.
Well, she's not going to
like it.
She's not going to honor
we
that
know
because
that.
she's tied to the Daily machine. I mean, she was brought in by the Daily.
If she wants to get reelected, though, she's going to have to show up on an issue like this in order to.
She's not going to do it. What she's doing is she's giving these new trinkets that she's giving out to the employees of the city. These what do they call it? Waivers for.
Well, maybe she thinks that, depending on who she might be running against, that maybe she might be the choice of the 19th ward, given it depends on who you're running against, and maybe she doesn't want to alienate the 19th ward so early in the game. It just makes no sense, though, Ezra. Thank you for calling in, my brother. We really appreciate it.
One other point, Charles.
Yes, sir.
Charles, if I can, one other point. As we tried to forge a black and brown coalition when Harold Washington was in office, that disappeared. Right now, Charles, we can say there is a white and brown coalition. And that's why we see so many police and firemen coming from the Latino community.
We can't even get a black coalition. We can't even get a black coalition together.
No, I'm just saying. I know that, but I'm telling you what's happening in the city right now. I thank you both for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you, man.
Thank you
for calling.
All right. Thank you
so
so much.
Yourself.
All right. When we come back, we'll pick up more of your phone calls here at 708-223-8953, 708-223-8953. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with The People Show right here on IntellectualRadio.com.
For 25 years, ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas gave you the straight news. Now he's giving you real talk on the governor's race.
These Democrats are into name calling. They'll call people a racist, a misogynist, a homophobic person, or whatever, because they want to distract from the fact that they've accomplished so little in public office. And it's time people woke up and recognized that. J.B. Pritzker, what's he ever done outside of being born on third base and telling the world he hit a triple? J.B. Pritzker and his people called Darren Bailey an extremist. Darren Bailey? I met the man. He's a family farmer, somebody who understands what it's like to go to work every day, somebody who's fair-minded. I can trust this guy. Yeah, a farmer from Southern Illinois. Yeah, farmer from Southern Illinois.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.
All right, welcome back to the People Show on Intellectual Radio with Mark Wallace and Charles Thomas.
Yeah, Mark, how you like that commercial, man? You like that? What? Hey, look, I gotta address it because people are addressing it. They didn't turn on the People Show to hear me not talk about what I've been doing with the campaign because it's causing quite a bit of controversy. However, I want to note that most of the blowback I'm getting is not coming from black folks. It's not even coming from black elected officials, several of whom have called me to say, thank you. Thank you for putting pressure on the party. It's coming, the blowback is coming from, of all people, white liberals They are coming at me really hard. In fact, I had one white liberal, I'm going to call him a liberal, but his former colleague came at me and called me a sellout. A white boy called me a sellout. I'm saying, well, who do you think I sold out? He couldn't answer that question. I have an idea who he thinks I sold out. I think he thinks I sold out the media because
You sold out the media?
he says that's what I'm extrapolating here because he never answered me. But I believe that he believes I sold out the media because I did not toe the liberal line that the media has adopted in this troubled age in America. And I don't know. We had a little Twitter.
You mean the
Twitter
media,
brawl.
the Chicago media? You're saying is the liberal wing?
Oh, without a
the-
doubt.
the
Definitely.
media?
If you read the Chicago Tribune or the Sun-Times or WBEZ Radio, which is a force in this town now, because they are a force bigger than
Well, they
the
own
Tribune.
the Sun-Times.
They own the Sun-Times, exactly, and they're. I think that journalistically they're better than the Tribune, but that isn't saying much because both papers have a very strong liberal bias, and the TV stations, many of them, are driven.
When did
by
that
the
liberal
newspapers.
bias come from the Tribune?
Where did it come from?
Because the
Oh, I
Tribune,
think
the Tribune has long been
not anymore, my
a
friend.
conservative.
Not anymore.
Conservative
Not
side.
anymore.
Okay,
Come on, the
well-
Chicago Tribune.
Well, maybe
has
they're
swung
learning.
hard left.
Good. Maybe they're
But
learning.
But I think that going back to my original point, I think that's who he says or who he claims I sold out. And I'm not a reporter anymore. I'm a consultant. I have a consulting business. It's been going on for several years. I've had major clients, many of whom are Democrats. I don't do campaigns for them. This is the first time I'm really doing anything that has to do with a campaign. But I've worked for Democrats, probably won't be able to do it again. But I think that they're
Probably
saying
not.
I'm selling out the media.
Well,
And
first of all, this whole sellout, term that's something different to me when I use this term. Now, look, I don't agree with what you're doing, right? I don't agree with it at all. But I'm not going to sit here and call you a sellout because I don't think that applies. I don't think that it applies because to me, when I call somebody a sellout, is that is somebody who has taken a bag at the peril of our community.
You think I'm working at the peril of our community? Because I did take a bag. Because as a consultant, a professional,
well, let me tell you
like
why
David Axelrod and all the rest of them,
let me tell you why
I took a bag.
Let me tell you why that I don't see this as a peril of our community because I don't think that it is going to.
I appreciate that.
I don't think it's going to be successful.
Well,
all right?
You got to try,
So,
though, brother. You always try.
It's been tried before,
Well, it hasn't been tried like this before.
Sure, it has.
No, come on.
Sure it
When
has.
have you seen
Sure.
anybody
Well,
do anything
maybe-
like this
maybe-
funded?
Maybe
Funded.
you and I have a different opinion in terms about the whole funding thing. Because when you
Gotta have
say
resources.
funded, well, Bruce Rauner was heavily funded.
Who you think buying these ads?
No, but Bruce Rauner was heavily funded.
But he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't have some black person sitting there telling black people not to vote for J.B. Pritzker. He didn't have anybody doing that.
So
Not a black person
Well, apparently he
on television.
Apparently he
spending
apparently he
billions
did.
of dollars.
But so that to me, all right. So that is being funded. I don't think that it is going to be a panacea to the liberation of any of the media outlets that are receiving the funding. All right, because
No, I'm
at the
talking
end-
about black people moving away from being automatic pawns for the Democratic Party and getting nothing in return, like Ezra McCann was saying, getting nothing, and this Democratic Party establishment and their union buddies and the lackey black politicians who don't stand up for us. That's what we're fighting here. That's what we're trying to end.
You're fighting that in a campaign, but at the end of the campaign,
So if we win,
it won't be successful.
well,
It won't be successful.
That's an opinion. I think
Well,
it will be.
opinion. It's an
I
opinion
think
right
it will
now.
move people. I think it will move people
It will.
to think about it.
It
And
may
talk
move
about
people, but it's not going to move enough people for
Well, we'll see.
for that to be successful.
We'll see. And you know, it might not be successful this time, but it might be successful 2 years from now. It might send a message to Mr. Pritzker, should he win, that he can't do this. He can't do business the way he's been doing business.
The way that I believe that we send a message to J.B. Pritzker, to the General Assembly, to the City Council, to the County of Cook, to the Attorney General, to the State's Attorney, to the Chicago Public School, all of them. There's nobody that is left out. But
so
the problem is that we have not organized ourselves together.
You're going to get organized now between now and November 8th?
Well, you're not going to send a message between now and November 8th because the only thing
I'm sending a message.
You're sending a message, but I don't think it's the message that is going to shift them to do things any differently.
We'll see.
Listen.
We'll see.
Okay, if you send the message to them and it causes for the General Assembly and J.B. Pritzker to move the stalled development of the South Suburban Airport that will drive 200,000 jobs, to develop 600 acres of desolate land that's sitting there and all the infrastructure and roads have been put in, to move the advanced manufacturing development force that will bring hundreds of thousands of jobs to Black folks and to lift Black communities out of poverty. If that does that,
it could in the long term do that, but the governor won't be J.B. Pritzker. It'll be Darren Bailey who will have to respond to Black people. It won't be J.B. Pritzker, hopefully, because Black people will come together and see how he has offended us, how he has neglected us, how he has taken us for granted, as though he's going to get 95% of our vote without doing anything. That is what we're trying to stop. That attitude is what we're going after right now.
And unfortunately, it is not a winning proposition. It's not a winning proposition.
I respect your
because
opinion.
It's splintered.
I respect your opinion, but I'm going to do what I got to do right now.
Well, you're doing what you're doing. I don't know that you got to do it, but you're doing what you're doing.
I got to do it. It's a mission. It's a mission.
Well,
I got to do it.
Listen, I would hope that mission would have been successful. It will not be successful.
Just hope that it is. Just hope that it is.
Yeah, I hope that it is, but it will not be.
That's all I need.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about another problem that has happened. There were 2 mass shootings, one in Las Vegas, Nevada, 2 police officers, two police officers killed, one
that was
injured.
in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas.
Oh, there was one in Connecticut.
And there was another one in Connecticut.
Okay.
And I think there was one recently in Michigan that just happened.
Mm-hmm.
The 2, I believe, were with assault weapons, where this guy made this phony call to the officers in Las Vegas and ambushed them and killed 2 of the officers and heavily wounded a 3rd officer. I read somewhere this morning, reading through, all these gun articles, that we have 121 guns to each American, because there are some 330 million Americans, or people in this country, and we have well over 40 million guns. 121 guns per American.
And some of those guns are 150, 200 years old. You know, people, I've met people in other parts of the country who will keep their guns over the mantelpiece that their great grandfather used when they settled on the land in the 1830s in order to keep these native people who would wander back onto the land after the native people had been removed and sent to Oklahoma, but they didn't leave. They just stayed on the land that they knew it always was their land. So they needed a gun to keep these people off the land, the same way they needed a gun to keep our ancestors enslaved, because the gun, America was forged in gunfire. There is no other way to look at it. And all those guns out there are part of what created this country. It's not a happy thing to talk about. It's terrible. But how are you going to get rid of these guns? As you say, how many of them for each American?
120, I think it was 121 guns per American.
Really? Per American? That
Yeah.
would be over 1 billion guns. I don't know that we have that many.
Huh?
121 per each American is 330 million Americans.
Well, listen, you only have, there's about 60% of the United States people who do not have guns. There's a very small population of people who have guns in this country.
Oh, you mean if you just use the number of gun owners?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Really?
There are plenty more people. We have a call. Let's get the call, Mark,
All right.
and see what's going on.
Welcome to the program.
Welcome to the program. You're on the People Show on Intellectual Radio with Mark Wallace and Charles Thomas.
Yeah. Hey. Good evening, Mike. Good evening, Charles. This is the Batman.
Good evening.
Now I got to comment. Yes, I'm going to comment on the mass shootings. Now, as of this year, as of 2022, we've had 25. That's 25 mass shootings, and mass shootings are defined by any number of people that are slain. 5 people or more that are slain, including the shooter. Now, we had a situation in Connecticut, and to make the correction, this was Connecticut, where we had 3 officers responding to a call for a domestic situation, which 2 officers were slain. These officers arrived in the good faith of trying to quell a disturbance and were ambushed. These officers made the mistake, and I say made the mistake is that when they asked the gentleman to come out of his home, they turned their backs on him, and he opened fire, basically executing them. Now, we have to make this clear. America is a gun culture. Ever since the Pilgrims set foot off the Mayflower and landed on Plymouth Rock, we have to make this clear that America is a gun culture. Always has, always will be. And one of the things that we have to make clear is that when we have the Second Amendment, that's actually what has solidified the guns in America. Solidified.
Well,
So you mean the bastardization of the Second Amendment?
Well, the Second Amendment was ratified in 1789. At the very beginning. I mean, it's the Second Amendment, the first being freedom of speech, the second being the right to bear arms. So it was here from the very, very beginning.
Correct. It was here from the very beginning. So what we're dealing with
And
now
reinterpreted
is that we have to
times.
realize that the fact of the matter is that the founding fathers, who in the world in way back when would have imagined that we have high capacity magazines, high capacity firearms such as AR-4s, AR-15s, M16s, M50s, things of that nature. No one could see that far in the future. No one.
But keep in mind that a musket, smooth bore musket with a bayonet
Correct.
on the end of it was an assault weapon in 1789.
That is very true, but we have to. But at the same time, firearms has evolved over the last 350 years.
Absolutely.
And we had an assault weapon ban that was in place until until 1990. I think when Bush got into office, they would not renew it, and they allowed for the assault weapons ban to expire, and we have what we have now.
Now, and it's only my opinion, and it's not, and you don't have to agree with it. You don't even have to share it. But my opinion is this: what in the world does a civilian need, or why would they even be in possession of an assault rifle? Handguns, one thing; shotguns, another. But an assault rifle,
assault weapon, period. There's assault weapons. Do you know that there was not a single police officer in the city of Chicago prior to 1996 that had a semi-automatic weapon? Not a single police officer.
Well, you have to realize the fact of the matter that you have to realize this also. The same way, like you said, there was not that law enforcement did not have. Not only did they not have access, but it was not something that they would have at that particular time. They did not go to assault weapons until 1992, until after that bank robbery in Los Angeles, when these armed robbers had assault weapons, and the fact that and they had to go to a gun shop because law enforcement was actually outgunned, and they had to go to a gun shop to get the firepower to match those of the criminal. This is when actually the law enforcement went to saying, we're going to have long guns in our squads. We're going to have the shotguns, but we're going to have AR-15 assault rifle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Batman. Mm-hmm. This is a problem. There's a problem. And I've always said that if people want to truly go after guns in this society, they're going to have to go after the Second Amendment. They're going to have to challenge the Second Amendment. Now,
the Second Amendment needs to be done away with in the first place.
Well, there you go. But the politician that has that kind of nerve to go after the Second Amendment is probably signing his own political death warrant.
Well, if it's going to save millions of lives,
to say that
I would pay
take
price.
Away one of the essence of this country. I mean, the fact that
the essence of white supremacy.
No, not white supremacy. This country, man. Look, I ain't white, but come to my house at 3:00 in the morning. I don't know who you are. The Second Amendment is in effect.
You're three times more likely to get shot by your own gun.
Whatever. But I'm gonna take that chance because.
How old are you?
How old am I?
Yeah,
I've done pretty well.
Okay, and how many times has somebody broken into your house at 3:00 in the morning?
It hasn't happened yet, but I'm ready for Freddy.
You think it's because you have a gun?
No, I'm down with personal protection.
I know, but
you think
it's because they have a gun?
Bump stocks and machine guns. People don't need that. They need a good shotgun, because you want shotgun. You don't have to aim that bad boy. You just
who are you going to shoot?
Point it, huh?
What are you going to shoot?
An intruder, somebody coming into my house at 3:00 in the morning that I didn't invite.
Most intruders are not coming into your house at 3:00 in the morning when you're at home.
I'm not going to take that chance.
But most of them are not coming when you're at home.
I don't expect it. I don't sit there living like I'm in fear. Of course not. But I think people have the right to defend themselves, particularly. And this is the old adage, and it rings true today. If guns are outlawed, then outlaws will have guns.
Listen,
and that is an absolute fact.
Okay.
If you can get the guns, get them to turn in their guns, I'm with you. If you can get them to turn in their guns. That's
not going to happen. But
it's just a cliche now, but
I certainly think that there are things that we can do as a supposed civilized society to mitigate the atrocities of what is seems to be happening more frequently. And by the way, that was not a legitimate call. That was an ambush call. It was a phony
Ambush call?
The call that those two police officers that got slaughtered was a phony call to get those police
Right,
officers
to get them there.
There was not a real call.
Yeah, no, there,
right?
there was a psychopathic murderer who called those police officers to that address. But I don't know what that has got to do with the general public being able to arm itself to defend its own property.
I think you're talking. We're conflating.
Find,
we're conflating two different conversations. What I am saying. You want to have a gun in your house? Go have your gun in your house so you feel like you're protected. Go do it. Have your gun in your house. What I am saying is that we don't, in what is supposed to be the greatest country in the world, the greatest civilization in the world, we don't need people with semi-automatic weapons. I told you earlier today.
You mean semi-automatic rifles like AR-15?
Period.
Well, you know, I mean, I don't agree with that.
Okay, fine. You don't have to. You don't have to.
You have a cell phone that's a modern, updated version of the telephone. People have
cell phone would be
handguns
considered
that
to
are
be
modern, updated versions of handguns to protect themselves. I'm not going to go out there with a
cell
Saturday
phone
night special 6-shooter.
We don't have people keeping records of how many cell phones have killed people.
Well, we're not. You understand that technology has changed firearms the way it has changed telephones. That's all I'm saying. That when
those
people
kind of
have
firearms,
a semi-automatic handgun, that's not that big a deal. Now, an AR-15, a huge gun like that, I feel you on that, brother. You're right. But to have personal protection in your home, I'm not going to take that away from Americans.
Okay, fine.
I just don't
so
think
have
that
so have your personal protection at home. Have it.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we agree.
But the data,
that assault weapons are big. These big, semi-automatic rock and roll assault weapons are not needed by people.
When we had the assault weapons ban in place, we didn't have this kind of carnage of mass shootings. We didn't, and mass murders. We didn't have it. Right.
I haven't seen the stats, but I'll take your word for it.
In Australia, they had 13 mass shootings. 6. The conservative government in Australia got together and they had a massive assault weapons buyback. And they bought back assault weapons to the tune of $47,000 a weapon that took the cost of, right?
$47,000.
Well, that's exactly
have assault weapon,
that was exactly the goal.
$47,000.
That you could have your assault weapon, but we'll give you $47,000 for it. Now, if you wanted to go buy one, you now have to pay $47,000 to get one. Then you know how many mass shootings they've had since 1996?
Don't know.
0.
That's good, man. That's good.
0.
That says it all. But most of one thing as far as gun violence is concerned, the vast majority of people who were killed by gunfire in this country were killed with handguns, and that is undeniable.
And the vast majority of people who were killed by handguns were suicide.
By handguns.
By suicide.
No. I'm talking about the nearly 600 murders that have occurred in Chicago this year. Those that happened with guns, those people were killed
with
by
semi-automatic.
90-some% of them
with
were killed by
weapons.
handguns.
If you go to the trauma unit, because I've been there. If you go to the trauma unit and you talk to some of the trauma doctors, and you know what they're telling you? 95% of the people who come into the trauma units that have been shot waist up are DOA because they have been hit multiple times.
A lot of those people were shot in the arm too. In the movies, they get shot in the arm and they keep fighting. No. You die.
Yeah.
You're shot in the arm. You bleed to death within.
Well, but what I'm saying is that, and we didn't have, because of the assault weapons ban, we didn't have a whole bunch of people who were quote unquote innocent bystanders being shot. We didn't have multiple people being killed. If you were in a faction or one of those organizations that were after somebody, they had to literally go up to the person that they were going to get, because you couldn't shoot them from across the street.
Oh no! Look, man. I'm with you all the way, man.
Yeah.
Some of this firepower on the street that these psycho killers have, and a lot of the gangs have some heavier stuff they can bring out when they want to do something. That stuff's got, you can control people from having those weapons. I'm with you 100%, Mark.
We shouldn't have. If we're going to have gun dealers, gun dealers should not be selling weapons of war in a civilized society. Period. I don't understand why gun dealers are allowed to sell.
Full stop. Period. Full stop.
Of
Definitely.
War. Okay.
Definitely.
All right. We agree.
We're at 708-223-8953. This is Intellectual Radio. You are listening to The People Show with Charles Thomas, yours truly, and Mark Wallace. And we are here. We have been talking about guns, but we're going to move on. And Mark, you're doing a wonderful job this evening of moving us from topic to topic.
Yeah.
And where are we going now?
Well, here is the Illinois judges signed a declaration saying that they're going to keep politics out of the judicial elections, right? But a federal judge just blocked campaign limits for judicial races.
He just blocked campaign limits for judicial races.
Right.
And what are the limits? Are they monetary?
Monetary. There's no limits.
There's no limits.
There's no
Well,
limits.
I've always had a problem with Illinois electing judges. I mean, I've always wondered about that because I've seen so many abuses of the whole idea of electing judges. The thing that has always stricken me as being just completely out of line is when some person who might be, Julio Guevara, he will change his name to Jules O'Connor in order to be elected because there was this penchant for a long time to elect Irish people to judgeships. And we've got people who are doing that. They're actually changing their name. These are lawyers who are changing their name to sound Irish.
Should be illegal.
Huh?
It should be
Absolutely.
illegal.
But
how can you change your name if it's not on your birth certificate? If it's not on your birth certificate, you should not be able to use it on a ballot.
Well, but they do. If you change your name legally, you can do it. Or if you marry someone who might be an O'Connor and you've always used your name as Jones, but you want it to be O'Connor, you figure, well, you can get elected if it's Harriet Jones -O'Connor. That will help her chances to be reelected in Cook County, which is such a incredibly corrupt place on the planet. And don't trigger me now, but this is the kind of stuff that goes on in Cook County by our leadership class here. They do this kind of stuff.
Of course they do it.
The other thing they're doing this year, this is a little bit off the subject, but I got to mention it. You notice how they moved the property tax bill after the election? Because this one's going to be a real scream, I'm told.
Well, you can
so they moved
it
after the election. They do these things. They manipulate information in Cook County, which, of course, is run by your friendly regular Democratic Party. They are the ones that do these kinds of things to people, and we fall for this crap all the time. We fall for it.
Well, the good thing is that there's being a shift in the way that property taxes are being rated, because the people downtown are now having to pay the right rate on their taxes, and one of the corrupt people on the Board of Review has been ousted.
Who is it?
In this last election? I forget their name.
Oh,
but they were ousted. because that board of review has been corrupt for a long time. Because what happens is, if you contest your property taxes and the assessor says, well, wait a minute, that's, that assessment wasn't done properly, and the assessor says, no, we're going to deny that, and then they appeal to the board of review. They go to the board of review, and their friends on the board of review vote to overrule the assessors.
So you think that it was legitimate that they delayed the release of the tax bills from August 1st? I mean, the due date for the tax bills from August 1st
I didn't say it was
to
legitimate.
after the election.
I didn't say it was. I didn't say. First of all, if you want to know how much you're paying your taxes, go online. You can see what you're paying on your taxes.
But they delayed the due tax bill.
They're delaying.
No, I haven't gotten a tax bill. I haven't gotten my tax bill yet. I have not.
Oh,
I have not gotten it.
You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it because of because there are different agencies within.
You think it's legit that they delayed?
I didn't say it was legitimate. I said,
okay. Well, I just want to know, because I had some land for you in Florida.
In order for them to go out, so it's not just one issue. Like, you have different reviews that have to be done, and they cannot complete the assessments and send the bills out until all of those reviews that have been appealed.
So it's legit, you think? That they're
I'm
delaying.
not saying that it is legit. I'm saying that this is what the process is.
Well, I think it's just pure. I'm a cynic. I think it's pure politics. They don't want people seeing those tax bills before the election because they know they're going to go crazy.
No,
in the south suburbs now, man, they are paying more in property taxes than they're paying on their mortgage.
Well,
and it is outrageous that this is happening. And you know who's doing it?
No. Well,
Your friendly neighborhood Democratic Party is doing it.
I am applauding. I am applauding.
Can't blame Trump for that.
I'm applauding Fritz Kagi for taking the bold steps that he has taken. He has had a problem because the General Assembly, and I'm glad that the head of that is gone, and maybe he can get some of those reforms in place that will shift the inequities of what has been perpetuated in the assessor's office with Houlihan and with Berrios and all of those people that were there to make sure that the people downtown are paying their fair share, that they can't take a building that's worth $1 billion and go in and say it's only worth $500 million and get an assessment on $500 million and then sell it for $1 billion.
I want to see those tax bills. I want to see. I'm sure people out in South Holland and Matheson and Rich Township and those areas, I'm sure they can't wait to see those tax bills when they do arrive, because as you say, Fritz Kagi's doing a great job and they're going to be lower. I find that hard to believe.
No,
but I think they're going to be higher than ever this year.
Yeah, but guess what?
And people
the taxes
are going to be
not higher
outraged, but it'll be after the election.
Remember
that, folks.
Your taxes are not higher because of your tax rate. Your tax rate is determined by the state, but your tax rate in your local area by your municipality.
If the number is higher than it was on August 1st of 2021.
It is going to be
if it's high. Exactly. And that's what people are reacting to. They're not reacting to all this little technical talk about what Fritz Kagi does and what the Board of Review does. I'm looking at that bill. And if that bill is $200 or $300 more than it was the year before, I'm pissed off.
Why?
Because paying more for taxes than your mortgage, your principal and interest. Come on. And your house value is going down because nobody wants to buy it because the taxes are too high. That's what's happening in the south suburbs right now. Reject these Democrats. They are the ones who did that. Trump didn't do it. Darren Bailey didn't do it. The Democrats who control Cook County did it. They were the ones who lowered assessments on skyscrapers downtown. J.B. Pritzker wasn't paying his taxes. Remember, he took the toilets he bought the house next door, the mansion next door, took the toilets out so he could save a couple of $100,000 on his taxes. That's greed. 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 That is a greedy person. The person who is governor is greedy. greedy.
So you think that the only people that did that are Democrats?
I don't know who did it. I know they allow
okay.
it to happen.
All right.
They allow it to happen, and he is the most egregious example of it. To take the toilets out of the house, to buy the house next door for millions of dollars, take the toilets out so it can be condemned, so your house has a lower tax rate.
Yeah,
oh, come on. And he did that. He did it. Mark, that's a fact. Mark, he did it. He's even quasi apologized for it.
He's not the only person that has done it. This is a
isn't in Cook County.
This is a
Madigan was doing deals like that constantly with these skyscrapers.
This is a practice.
Lowering their taxes so the burden could be put on black homeowners in the south suburbs. Black people were the ones who suffered most. ProPublica did a big investigation on it. Fort Heights has a higher property tax rate than Winnetka. Come on, Mark.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
The value of your taxes in Fort Heights is higher. Look it up.
You're
folks,
wrong.
Just look it up.
You said they have a higher tax rate.
They have a higher tax rate
they do
compared to the value of the house.
They do not.
I'm telling you, they do. Fort Heights does. Fort Heights does.
The assessment.
But the house is only worth so much, Mark. The assessment I'm
in the real estate business 42 years.
I know, Mark.
So there's not much you can tell me about real estate.
But I know this is fact.
So
Fort Heights has a higher tax rate.
They do not have a higher tax rate. Fort Heights is one of the poorest communities in the country.
That's my point.
Okay,
that's my point.
One of the poorest communities in the country.
Point. I get that.
The highest tax,
that's why it's so outrageous.
Well, let me just give you some facts because you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
The highest tax assessed suburb in Illinois is Park Forest.
I didn't say the highest. I said
yes, you did.
That in relation to the value of the property, the taxes
that is not how your taxes are.
Well, that's how you. I'm thinking
that is not how your tax rate goes.
Telling you, the higher the amount of taxes
paid
in Fort Heights is higher compared to the value of the actual property.
You know who's responsible for that?
The Democratic Party. The assessor's a Democrat. The county board president is a Democrat. The vast majority of the commissioners are Democrats. The Board of Appeals are Democrats.
I'm going to let you finish, and then I'll give you the correction. Your municipality determines what your levy has to be in order for them to pay the services in your area. Your tax rate is no different than anybody else's that is determined by the General Assembly of the state of Illinois. It is your village, your municipality, or your municipality that has to come up with the levy for your municipality.
Well, the schools also play a role here.
Well, that's a part of your levy that comes up with your levy, and then they have to determine what the percentage is that they put on top of your tax rate in order for them to collect the revenues needed to provide the services for that municipality.
So do you
that's
think
not done?
But do you
that's
think
not
that
done by the Cook County assessor?
It's not maybe it's not done by the assessor, but can you explain how a person a homeowner who lives in a $300,000 house in a community like Madison is paying $15,000 a year in taxes? That person cannot sell their home because the prospective buyer says, okay, well, I can get a mortgage for that. But the bank says, yeah, but you got to pay the taxes, and they're going to be $1,500 a month or thereabouts. And you say, what? You can't afford the house suddenly, so nobody can buy your house. So you're stuck. This is what's happening in Cook County. This is not happening in other counties around the country.
You want me to answer your question?
Answer it.
You want me to answer your question?
Justify.
In Madison, I'm not justifying anything. I'm just telling you why it's happening. In Madison, they're slowly trying to turn it around. Madison has a very low commercial and industrial area in Madison.
Because the businesses are leaving because the taxes are too high. In Cook County, the taxes for businesses are outrageous.
No,
so they're
leaving.
They're leaving Lincoln Highway.
The taxes, you know where they went? You know where those businesses went?
They're going down the street.
You know where they went? They went to Orland Park.
Many of them are going to Orland Park.
No.
The
many of those business.
There.
No, they were not. Many of the business.
Many
of the. I know this as a
people
fact.
Are going to the businesses.
Many of the businesses that were in the Matheson Mall, the mall,
Lincoln Mall.
No, I'm not talking about the Lincoln
There's
Mall.
so many malls
there
in Matheson
that is
up
now
and down
gone.
there that are vacant.
Well, this one is actually gone. They demolished it because it was 2/3 vacant. Many of those businesses went to Orland Park. You can go out into Orland Park. I just sold a house out there in Orland Park last year for $475,000. You know how much the taxes are?
What?
$5,500.
Beautiful. So why are black communities in the south suburbs paying $15,000 for the same house?
Because we have not forced for our government to make sure that we have the industry in those areas that we once had, supporting those communities and where they had those good paying jobs, like the South Suburban Airport. If we had the South Suburban Airport could drastically help those communities in that South region in terms of lowering their taxes. If we had those advanced manufacturing places that I talked about on that 600-acre stretch of land, if our government would roll up their sleeves and go to these companies and work a deal and bringing those companies here to hire the people in our communities where our people are earning $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, as they are doing in other places around the country that are lowering their tax burden, we would be able to do that. Those municipalities would be able to lower the debt. But because they are black people out there, and there are 17 black mayors out there, 17 black mayors out there. And we have all these black folks in Cook County, and we want to just yell and scream, but we don't want to do what is necessary for us to leverage our power, to make these people do what needs to be done. All we want to do is yell and scream about, this party or that party. I don't give a rat's to hootie about the party.
Well, I know the party that's in charge that is
they're not
protecting.
in charge.
Wait a minute, Mark. Now I let you speak. Let me speak. The party that's in charge, the Democratic Party of Cook County, they are the ones.
What's the Republican plan?
Huh? Wait a minute. Don't interrupt me. I'm trying to explain something to you. That O'Hare Field, they protect because their patrons, their cronies, have their businesses all centered around O'Hare, so they don't want a South Suburban Airport, and they fight it tooth and nail. Daley fought it. He actually went and annexed the Gary Airport in order to protect the legislature from taking over the O'Hare Field back in 1994, 95, something like that. They do everything they can to protect O'Hare and let the south suburbs go to rot.
All right.
Now, wait a minute. So therein is the establishment, the party establishment, the Democrats who fought the Republicans who tried to take over O'Hare back in the mid-90s. It's politics. I get it. And Rahm and Mayor Richard M. Daley and Lori today, they have an interest in protecting O'Hare and why the South Suburban Airport is not to be developed. But I tell you what, if you look around places like the South Suburbs, Rich Township, University Park, Matheson, these areas, you notice that Amazon is beginning to build these huge warehouses in the South Suburbs. They aren't building them north. They aren't building them west. They're building them south. And the next time that airport comes up, and it will come up if Bailey is elected governor, then we'll have a conversation with Jeff Bezos's people at the table, with the people from Walmart
We've already
at the
had
table.
No,
we haven't. Those
I've already had a conversation with.
I've
already.
They were just built.
Hold on.
They're going to need an airport out there.
I have already had a conversation personally with Jeff Bezos.
Oh, that's good, man.
All right. I've had a conversation.
But you guys had a drink too, or
no?
What? Just a conversation.
No, the guy who is my business mentor sells them their fleets of plane. He facilitated a conversation because I had been working with Del Marie Cobbs and the Congress woman and others on the South Suburban Airport. J.B. Pritzker has put $130-something million into the budget for building the roads and the infrastructure going out to the South Suburban Airport. In terms of the mayor protecting O'Hara, there is nothing else to protect at O'Hara because O'Hara is at its capacity.
O'Hara just built a big cargo unit last 5 years.
And they are at their capacity.
And
they have nowhere else that they can go. They can't put any more planes there. They can't put any more runways there. They're at their capacity. So is Midway. And by the way, every other major metropolitan city has 3 airports. They're not cannibalizing the others, and they're all doing well. The FAA has told Illinois more than 30 years, you're going to need a 3rd airport. We have lost a FedEx annex. We have lost a UPS annex because we don't have a 3rd airport. We've lost those to other places. And Jeff Bezos wanted to build a 3rd airport, but where they were trying to build it, where they were trying to get him to build it, is cost prohibitive. They wanted to try to build it out in Gary, but you would have to move the freeway out there. It would cost 10 times as much as it would be to build the 3rd airport where it needs to be.
But I think they're going to build
already
it. I think they're going to build it.
More than 90% of the land.
I might not be around to see planes land and ship cargo from that airport, but they're going to build it. And I think it's been partially, in large part, a political question because there are interests at O'Hare. In fact, they've built a new cargo terminal at O'Hare, and a South Suburban Airport would be, at least at the beginning, exclusively for cargo. And O'Hare has resisted that, and the powers that be in the city, and I understand it. I mean, O'Hare is the economic engine for the region, not only for the city of Chicago, but for the region, and nobody wants to play with it. And I may have been a bit unfair by, doing my Democrat spiel. I mean, that could have been a little overboard. I apologize.
Yeah,
but
you're doing your job.
But I think that my job.
You're doing your job.
Well, I think about things. That's what I do.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that you have to. I don't know that you have to put a whole lot of thought into, doing your tirade for.
No,
Darren
I mean,
Bailey.
it's not about Darren Bailey. It's about moving people away from being automatic votes for one party and not thinking about the issues. And I want people to vote their interests, and their interests are not always represented by the Democratic Party because they have shown over the years what they've done to our schools, what they've done to our taxes.
Where have the Republicans showed an interest in black?
We can't.
Hold on a second. Where have Republicans anywhere in this country showed an interest in black people? Do you know that most?
Well, number one. Well, I think, as I remember, that there was. I think there were. The president who signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about in the last 50 years. In the last 50 years, show me where Republican policies have deliberately advantaged the progress for black folks in this country.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you exactly how. Ask anybody where black people are moving. When they leave Chicago, and there have been a hemorrhage of black people, they're going to Texas, a red state. They're going to Tennessee, a red state. They're going to Florida, a red state. They are leaving here and going to these other places because there's opportunity that doesn't exist here.
That you're talking
Did I answer your question?
No.
Did I answer your question?
No.
I tried.
I asked you to show me policies.
I don't. The policies in Texas are that you can go there and you can start your business without a lot of red tape.
No,
you can go to Texas and you are not paying a state income tax.
You
can go to Tennessee and not
jobs.
Well, of course,
these cheap labor jobs.
Whatever, but the jobs might not pay as much, but you aren't paying the government as much.
That's not a benefit
you aren't
to
paying
black people.
Gasoline taxes that you charge here. You're not paying sales taxes. You're not paying income taxes. They want 5% of your money in Illinois. They want 0% in Texas, Tennessee, and Florida.
Yeah.
Come on, that's where people are moving.
So they can pay, so that's why they have the higher rate.
That's what they've done.
And Texas,
answer the question.
Texas, Mississippi, and those red states have these flourishing increases of poverty.
You answered the question.
So don't brag about
and
Texas and
why
Mississippi
are they going to
and
Texas?
Florida. Even
why are
Florida
they going to Texas?
has these higher.
But why are they going to Florida? Why are they going to Tennessee? Because they aren't paying taxes there. There are more opportunities.
You have more wealthy
business
people.
activity.
You have more people of
business
wealth
activity
that are
is
poor
higher.
People are not moving there.
Well, poor people are not moving anybody.
Exactly.
And that's a tragedy.
So poor people
that they're
are not able to
being
move
trapped
there.
here in this dependent environment where they have to depend on the government for everything.
I ask you.
I'm giving it to you, Doctor.
A policy where
Republicans. Well, here's a policy. No income tax, no state income tax. That's a policy that attracts people from Illinois to Texas.
How does that help poor people?
How does it help? It helps working people. Man, if you want to do poor people all the time, most people are not poor. They're working people. They have jobs. They're raising their families. They aren't living on welfare. They aren't doing that. They got jobs. They get a better job in Texas because they get to take home more of their pay.
We have a higher rate of poor black people in Chicago and Illinois, but you don't see, as Ezra pointed out, how many white poor communities do we see?
In Chicago, you don't find many. You got to go to Grundy County and those areas to find poor white people.
You mean down there where Darren Bailey is?
No, well, he's in Clay County, which is southern Illinois, mostly farms. But you go to Grundy County, which is right next to Will County, you find a lot of fentanyl addiction, a lot of poor people, They don't really know how to handle it, man. They have it's terrible. You find poor people there without a doubt. But people are leaving. I know people that go to Indiana because the taxes are lower. In Indiana, they're going to Highland. They're going to St. John. There are people
who
friend of mine just moved to Highland.
Yeah, but there's still people coming to Chicago. There are still an influx of people coming to new people coming to Chicago.
They're crossing the border and getting on them buses and going right downtown to the Union Station, and they are the new poor people that can be exploited by this system of dependency that they are developing. But a lot of those people, they ain't going to stay poor. They aren't going to stay poor. Those are very motivated people.
No, these
walk all the way to the border. I got to give it to them.
Well, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about there are people who are graduating and coming to Chicago to having their careers. There's a
really? Okay, that's good. That's good, man. That's good. The U.S. Census Bureau, they are tracking people that are leaving, and they're saying that New York, Illinois, Chicago. I'm sorry, California. California. They're losing. People.
Chicago just got voted as the number one tourist place to travel for
really?
the 6th time.
You got that? You believe that?
Yeah. Well, I'm just telling you what. I'm just telling you what it is.
Voted. Who voted?
They just whatever group that is that
votes. See, I don't know. You got to give me some more detail. You got to give me which group.
Google it.
It could be Lori Lightfoot's Tourism Bureau. They would say something like that.
I'll look it up for you since you want to know.
That's a good one. Yeah, Chicago is a destination.
Yeah,
that's great, man. That's great. That I'm glad to hear that.
Now, when they said that, I said, okay, that's wonderful. But what about for the people to live? They were bragging about that. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just telling you what the results are.
Find that article?
I'll find that where it was. It came out of Cranes, and my question was, when I read it, it was immediately, what about to live? I know that we got 47% unemployment and black males 18 to 25 in Chicago. Okay. So, but to their white male counterparts in the same city at only 7%. There's something wrong with that in the same city. and the same demographics. 47% black males unemployment, white male unemployment, the same demographic, 7%. So my question is about, we need to address that. And I think that as long as we keep throwing these balloon balls or red balls or blue balls up in the air, the powers that be love it. They love it because they keep doing whatever they're doing, and it does not include us. And I think we do ourselves a great disservice when we buy into that nonsense, which we're buying into it.
Who? Me? I'm buying into it?
Yeah, all of us.
I'm not buying into it.
Yeah, we are.
No, not me, man.
Yeah, sure.
Not me, man.
You ought
to see some of the
into
tweets they get. You know, you get I'm not playing into their hands. If I am, it's the first time they got played into like this. You know, because
like, what do you mean, like this?
Well, like this. I mean, like,
you keep saying like this, but what is this?
Because everybody knows what like this is. I mean, I'm not going to go into all that. I mean, I think that we are making a bold attempt to move black people away from groupthink, from not thinking about who they vote for. We're making them think about it. We're being provocative about it. And I believe that people are paying attention. That's not to say they'll change, but they're paying attention and they're hearing it for the first time.
But what is the outcome? I'm talking about the outcome.
How would I know what the outcome is going to be? I have to try to make it happen and then wait for it to happen. I'm going to try. I'm not going to just sit here and go another election cycle and have people do the same thing over again and get the same result we've been getting for the past 75 years.
But how?
No, I'm going to say,
you how.
Don't vote for this guy because he did not live up to his promise to you. That's all I'm saying. Why should you vote for a guy who didn't live up to the promise that he made?
Well, what is the promise that the other person is making?
The other person has a clean slate.
No,
I'm not.
No,
he doesn't have to make a He doesn't have to make it.
How do you know they have a clean slate? Have you looked at his legislative schedule?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
And what is
okay?
What is
here's one for you.
What is his legislative schedule?
Okay, he's pro-life. He's pro-life. Wait a minute. Stop.
What is that?
Same as I am.
What is pro-life?
Same as
what
I
is
am.
that?
Am I an extremist?
What is that?
Well, he doesn't believe in abortion on demand.
Okay,
he doesn't. Now, I believe there are exceptions where you can have abortion, and so does he.
No,
I agree with him. He does.
No, he doesn't.
Mark,
no, he doesn't.
I've talked to the man many times. He believes that if the mother's life is endangered, that it is a choice at that point between the doctor and the woman. That is what he believes.
So that's what he believes.
That's what he believes.
And that's what you believe.
Yes.
That's what you believe.
Yes.
You said you have a granddaughter?
I have granddaughters. I have 5 granddaughters, and I have a daughter.
So are you telling, and that's exactly what you believe?
I believe that if the mother's life is in danger, then it is a decision that she has to make with her physician.
So let's just assume that. So if your daughter was raped and impregnated, you would force your granddaughter to carry that child to term?
Look, if you can tell,
I'm just asking a question.
Let me finish. If you can prove that a rape happened within a 9-month gestation period, good luck. You know, the people who are
if your granddaughter came to you, if your granddaughter came to you and said that she was raped,
it's not a matter to me. It's a matter of.
If your granddaughter came to you and said that she was raped, you wouldn't believe her?
Is this guy, did he do this? Can you get that case through court in 9 months?
If your granddaughter came to you and said to you, Granddad, I was raped.
What am I going to do?
I'm asking you a question.
I can't make that call. Am I supposed to?
I just want to know where you are.
Look, I'm telling you what I believe. But it's all driven, Mark, by my faith. It's driven by my faith.
What does your faith
My
have
faith
to do?
is Christianity.
Okay, well, where does Christianity have anything
Jeremiah
to do?
1, verse 6. He knew me, he knew ye in the womb.
You know who he was talking to?
He was
He
talking
was
to Jeremiah.
talking to Jeremiah, who was the priest.
But whatever.
He was the
whatever.
priest. He was
It's
not
in
talking.
word. It's in the word.
No,
Look,
that has nothing
Mark,
to do with
not
the birth.
challenge. I wouldn't dare challenge your faith. As I
I'm not
wouldn't
challenging
challenge
your
anybody's faith.
I'm not
It's my
challenging your faith. I'm
It's
telling
my
you
faith,
that that's
man.
not what that scripture is talking
Well, that's
about.
what you say.
No, that's
what
what the
you say.
scripture
You're not a
says.
priest. Look, I read it and it means to me.
No, I've been a Christian
what it
educator
means.
for
okay,
17
fine,
years.
but it means something to me.
But that's
okay?
not the correct meaning
Well,
of it.
that's on you,
It's
buddy.
not the correct
That's
meaning.
on you.
You won't find.
In the beginning,
you will not
in
find.
the beginning, God
will not-
created heaven and earth.
No,
Listen,
hold on a second.
The Bible is left to
God
be
scooped
interpreted.
up a body
Look,
of.
that's how I believe.
God scooped up.
That's
a body.
what I believe.
How do you? How can you
Mark,
possibly show that?
Mark, but that's what I believe.
Oh,
that's
what
my
you
belief.
Believe. Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's what you believe.
That's what I believe. If you don't
Because-
believe it, that's on you.
No,
this
that's
is a free
not what it
country.
says.
I would never impose my faith on another person. Never.
No,
but that's what I believe.
I'm a Christian.
Well, good.
I'm a Christian.
I'm a Christian too.
follower
I
of
try.
Christ.
I try as hard as I can be a Christian.
Well, we all do.
But
We all
I'm
do.
telling you that I'm
But
not.
I'm telling
I
you
believe
that
life begins at conception. I believe that. Okay, that's
what
my
you
belief.
believe?
That's what I believe.
That's what you believe.
Okay, yes.
That
And
life
why
is-
don't
And you're trying to say that your belief.
and that's
hold on
why
a second.
I am
You're saying that your belief.
pro-life.
You're saying that your belief is that because someone is at conception, the same way you just turned around and I said to you, if your granddaughter came to you and said that she was raped and she was impregnated, and then you said, well, how would I know?
Well,
that
no,
in
the
the 9
deal
months
is,
of
my
gestation?
brother, is
So
that
how do
in
you
my,
know?
in my family, we would pray on it. We would pray and fast on it.
If your
and
granddaughter was
look, man,
raped, you would
but
pray
I
on
don't-
it?
Yes. We pray on it?
Okay.
We pray, man.
All right.
We praying people. I can't help that. It's what we believe.
All right.
And a lot of people believe that. And I think that has to be respected. That belief has to be respected. But I will never
a lot of people
impose my
also
belief
a lot of people
on you
also
or
believe
anyone.
that they are pro-life, but they don't believe that you or anybody else should be making or criminalizing their decisions about their medical welfare.
You know what? I believe that abortion as an issue is going to be decided by, it's going to be decided evangelical. The struggle is evangelical as opposed to legal or political. That's what I believe. I'm not going to impose my belief on anybody
okay.
on that. I'm not.
That's
If you want to be pro-choice,
and
if
you
you want to
believe
do
that
it,
based
fine.
on what?
Huh?
You believe that based on what?
Believe on what? Based on what?
You said
My belief, man.
based on what?
That's what? On my faith. That's what I believe.
Your faith in what?
My faith in God, my faith in the universe.
God gives us
God
gives us,
is in control.
God gives us guidance.
That's what I
God
believe.
gives us guidance through the word.
I
of
believe
God,
that, Mark.
right?
I think that when I tell you that I will
I'm
never
trying to understand.
Listen, Mark. I'm trying to explain. I will never impose what I believe on another person. Okay. I will never listen, Mark. I will never impose what I believe on another person. You don't have to be a Christian.
But why are you and Darren Bailey using this to weaponize this?
Oh, we're not using it at all.
Well, sure you are.
No,
because you always bring it up.
We don't bring it up. It gets brought up to us.
You brought up, I am pro-life.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the death penalty?
No, I don't. I don't believe in the death penalty because I don't think it can be administered fairly. And we've had plenty of examples of that. Do you believe that a person?
Darren Bailey does.
Okay. Do you believe?
Darren Bailey does.
Fine.
He
That's
says
cool.
that he says that he wants.
That's fine.
If he becomes governor, that
Do
he
you
will
believe
reinstitute the death penalty.
If I am standing,
So
on the
how is he
top of
pro-life?
Let me explain something. If a person is standing on the 10th floor of a building, and he's threatening to jump, do we let the person jump? Does the fire department show up? Do the police try to talk the person down?
Sure they do.
Huh?
Sure they do.
Absolutely,
Sure they do.
because of a respect for life. Because we see a life and someone wanting to end it, and we will send the police, we'll send the counselors, we'll send people to talk him down because it's a respect for life.
What's the point?
And the point is that because I believe that life begins at conception,
How do you know
I
when
have a
conception
respect
happens?
for life.
How do you know when conception
Because
happens? You
the
just told
woman
me you
is
didn't
pregnant.
know. But you just
The
told me
woman
you
is
didn't know
pregnant.
if your granddaughter was raped by someone.
You're using
And
that example.
it's
Very
the exact
unfairly.
same thing.
But I'm saying we have a respect for life, and we will pray on it. We absolutely will. That's our faith. That's what we do. Now, what you want to do
so you
is
don't
on
so
you.
so your
I'm not going
respect
to automatically say have an abortion.
so your respect
her
goes
mother,
past
her grandmother, her family is going to pray with her, and we are going
Wait
to
a minute.
find out what's going
Wait a
to go
minute.
down.
So-
because this is what I feel.
So your granddaughter.
So I'm saying
you're telling me that your granddaughter, who is the victim of a vicious rape, will have nothing to say about whether or not she.
Of course she will. She will pray with us.
But you're going to force her to do that.
No, I'm not going to force her. Why would
Maybe
I
she
force
doesn't
her?
believe what you believe.
Man, why would I force her?
But wait, maybe she doesn't believe what you believe.
If that's the case, then that's on her. But I think she does, because that's how I raised my family. Because
what if
I'm
she
a
doesn't
father.
believe that? No.
Well, man, you're
Just
coming
because-
up with all these.
Wait, no, that's
all
your
these-
granddaughter.
These
She's your
hypotheticals.
No, there's not a
That is
hypothetical.
man, my granddaughter's not pregnant. She hadn't been raped. Okay?
I'm just asking you if your
You're
granddaughter
giving
got
me a
raped.
hypothetical. You're giving me hypotheticals. I'm saying,
But
and
you're
I'm
telling
answering,
me that
we're
if your
gonna
granddaughter
pray
got
on it.
raped,
We're going to pray on it. We're going to fast. We're going to figure out what to do with God. I'm not going to enforce you to do that. I'm not going to force anybody to do that. But that's how I'm going to handle it.
you just
we
said that
believe
you agreed.
life,
You agreed
it
with
begins
that.
at conception.
You agree with Darren Bailey that if somebody got raped, that they will.
I don't know that Darren Bailey believes that.
Well,
I
he
don't know
said
what
it.
he believes.
He said it.
Well, did you see? Show
He
me.
said it.
Get it. Get it on. Get it online.
What you
Get
didn't
it
see?
online.
You didn't see when
I
he was
know
asked
that
the question.
He said
You didn't see
that
where he was asked the question.
We mean at the debate?
No,
What?
when he was in an interview.
Oh, I didn't
An
see the
interviewer
interview. I didn't
asked
see
him-
that interview. No.
The interviewer asked him
It really
if
is.
you. No, hold on.
But-
I'm gonna.
But I'm not. I don't consider
Darren
myself
Bailey.
an extremist.
But you said you
because
know
I
this
am-
guy.
I
You
do.
said
I
you
know
know
the
him.
guy. I don't know him like I know you. Of course not. Or Earl. No, I've talked to him many times, but I don't know him like I know you. I don't call him up and say, "Hey, what's up, Darren?"
You mean
I
to
don't
tell
do
me
that.
you haven't seen the commercial where he is being interviewed?
No,
and
I don't
the
look at.
guy
I don't look at
asked him-
commercials like that.
But this
no.
is the guy that you're supporting.
Of course, but I'm
This
not.
is the person
Look,
that you're
that's not
supporting.
the reason that abortion is not going to control my vote. I'm not one of those people. Now, a lot of Democrats are going to be moved
well,
by
then why do you
abortion.
talk about it so much?
Who? I don't talk about it a lot.
You
It
brought
came
it up
tonight.
every time we
Fine.
talk. You just brought it up.
Not every time we talk. Come on, Mark. This is the first time today I brought
Yeah,
that
but you
up.
brought it up.
Because he
We
is
were-
called
we were
an
talking
extremist.
about everything else.
And I'm
I
trying
never
to
said
say,
that. I never used
I don't
that
think
term
it's
tonight.
extreme because he's
I
pro-life.
never used that
I'm
term.
pro-life too.
I
I'm
never
not
used that
extreme.
term. I
Then
never
that's what I
used that term.
said.
I never used that term. You brought that up. I never used that term.
Fine. I brought it up
I
to
didn't
make
even,
it.
I didn't even bring Darren Bailey up. You brought Darren
I've been
Bailey
bringing
up.
him up a lot because
Well, because
I'm a
you want
consultant
for
the
people to do it.
people who
But
play
this
by
is-
the
this is-
rules pack.
this is a guy
and we are supporting
who
Darren Bailey for
believes
governor
that a
because
woman-
Darren Bailey, we believe, will be a better bet than J.B. Pritzker, who has
No,
lied
you said that you
to
believe
people
it because you thought he
and
was a
who
man of great
has
faith.
had some questionable events in his career.
Or, you said Darren Bailey.
No, J.B. Pritzker.
So you don't think that Darren Bailey has had some questionable events in his
what
career?
are they? What are
I'm
they?
not just asking.
No,
You
I
think
don't know. I don't know what they are. I've been trying to find out.
The man who is documented in saying in his school that slaves were treated pretty
really?
well.
He said that?
Yes.
Well, I
Documented.
actually have J.B. Pritzker on
Documented.
tape in an FBI wiretap.
No, but you're just
calling
saying that.
black people. What did he call them?
Well, they were less offensive.
Yeah, less
That-
offensive.
that
basically,
Jesse
saying
White
that they
was,
were offensive.
less
And,
offensive.
I mean, I have him on tape saying that. I've never heard a tape of Darren Bailey saying anything like that.
Well, you said that you haven't researched all this.
Well, I've never seen him say
all
it.
readily available.
Is
to you.
it on tape?
It's readily
You have
available.
it? You have it on tape?
It's in his documents.
It is where?
It's in his documents.
Is it on tape?
All you have to do is Google it.
Is it on
On-
tape?
on
His
his
document,
record.
something he
His
wrote.
document.
No, I know it. I know
Yeah.
that's stuff that
No.
they're telling black people to
No,
get
no.
them emotional.
Charles.
Because see, what we do,
All
we
I'm
get
saying to you
emotional
is
about
that
politics, and then they manipulate us when
Okay.
we get emotional, because they make it seem like everybody on the other side is a racist, a bigot, and they get us all excited, and then we go out and we flip that D, and then they screw us royally. And that's what happens over and over and over again.
Bruce
and
Rauner,
what we're trying to do
was a
now
Republican,
is
and
to
he screwed us.
what we're doing now is trying to get black people to take a step back and just look at things.
Yeah, they did
just
that with
look
Bruce.
at things.
They did that
and
with
if
Bruce
this person
Rauner.
abuses you, black people didn't vote for Bruce Rauner.
Yes, they did.
Oh, come on. Not
Yes,
that
they
many
did.
black people voted for Bruce Rauner.
How do you think he
man.
got elected?
Bruce Rauner? Bruce Rauner got elected because people were fed up with Pat Quinn.
No.
That's how they
Bruce
got elected.
Rauner got elected because
of black people?
Because black people,
Oh, man.
some black
I tell
people
you one
shifted
thing,
over to Bruce.
He got
Guess what?
unelected because of black
Unfortunately,
people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And guess what? Because, he cost us over $1 billion
In what?
just in fees
In
because
what?
he refused
In what?
to have the budget
What kind
to
of
pay
fees?
the bills. Because you do know that when the state doesn't pay its contracts, right? That we pay
And Madigan had nothing to do with that, did he?
No, he had nothing to do with that. That was because the governor wouldn't allow for those bills to be paid.
He wouldn't capitulate to Madigan, who
The
is
governor
now
wouldn't allow
under
for it to be
federal
paid.
indictment.
But hold on a second. We have to pay
Madigan's
we have
fault,
to pay a 2%.
Madigan was a good guy. Hey man, we got
the bills are being paid.
I think we're getting
the bills are being paid.
I think they're playing us off here.
Yeah, the bills are being paid. How much time do we have?
They're playing us off, man. We got 2 minutes.
All right.
Wrap it up, Mark.
All right.
Wrap it up.
We had a great discussion. And of course, this is my good friends. Don't you all be mistaken about it. We just have a different. We just come at it from different ways, different perspective. Now, to be transparent. This was not how our program was designed to be.
It was.
No, it was not.
Well, we were going to differ.
No,
we weren't going to sit here and go, well, Mark, I'm telling you what,
we
man.
Were not going to,
no, we were going to talk.
We were not going to endorse any candidates.
I have to do. I mean, you'll have to fire me then. You'll have to fire me because I am a political consultant, and I can't. I got to go with my choice here.
Well, I'm just telling you what you and I have been discussing.
Yeah, but I don't want to violate any rules here. But
there are no, listen, we are. Listen, I have no problems. Whatever side somebody wants to support, I don't have a problem. I might strongly disagree with it, but at the end of the day, that is not going to break up our brotherhood. I will never let that happen because we both want the same thing. We want for our communities to be liberated, and we are going to work to make that happen. And after this is over, we are going to be stepping hard after whoever is in control to deliver to our communities. Because that $45 billion that is being appropriated, that other people are benefiting from, we have to do better.
We have to do better, and I can see us getting the rap from our friend who has been so helpful to us in getting the People Show underway. Yeah. My name is Charles Thomas. I'm along with my good friend
Mark Wallace,
and we have had another exciting evening on the People Show. We'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Monday.
For 25 years, ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas gave you the straight news. Now he's giving you real talk on the governor's race.
These Democrats are into name calling. They'll call people a racist, a misogynist, a homophobic person, or whatever, because they want to distract from the fact that they've accomplished so little in public office. And it's time people woke up and recognized that. J.B. Pritzker, what's he ever done outside of being born on third base and telling the world he hit a triple? J.B. Pritzker and his people called Darren Bailey an extremist. Darren Bailey? I met the man. He's a family farmer. Somebody who understands what it's like to go to work every day. Somebody who's fair-minded. I could trust this guy. Yeah, a farmer from Southern Illinois. Yeah. farmer from Southern Illinois.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.